Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a fascinating mystery. Why are we, as human beings, just remarkably terrible at predicting our own future happiness? I mean, think about it. We spend vast amounts of our energy, our time, and our hard-earned money trying to guess what will make our future selves happy. We make massive life choices today based entirely on assumptions about how we're going to feel tomorrow. But as we'll explore through the incredible insights from Daniel Gilbert's work, Stumbling on Happiness, we're going to discover that our brains actually suffer from these systematic, entirely predictable blind spots.
You know that feeling, right? We all know that incredibly relatable letdown of working tirelessly for a promotion, you finally get it and you just feel kind of fine. Or maybe you were dreading a bad breakup, convinced it would destroy you, only to recover surprisingly fast. Have you ever worked your absolute heart out to achieve a huge life goal, like buying your dream home or moving to a cool new city, only to find that once you actually got there, the feeling was just overwhelmingly ordinary? This happens for a very specific reason. Our internal mental simulator is fundamentally flawed.
So what actually separates us from, say, a dog or a chimpanzee? It's our massive frontal lobe. Think of it like a highly sophisticated time machine sitting right behind your forehead. Honestly, the greatest achievement of the human brain is its ability to imagine scenarios that do not even exist yet. If you look at other animals, they live almost entirely in the immediate present, just reacting to instant stimuli. But humans, we can run a quick mental simulation to know we definitely won't enjoy eating rotten garbage without actually having to taste it. But here's the thing, this simulator comes with a major catch.
Our mental simulator is incredibly flawed because it essentially creates a low-resolution sketch, automatically fills in the blanks, and then completely hides this fabrication from our conscious awareness. This brings us to a really dangerous trick our brain plays on us called realism. When you imagine a future event, your brain doesn't render a high-definition, perfectly accurate documentary. It constructs a story using tiny, fragmented pieces of information and makes wild guesses to fill in the gaps. And the craziest part? You never see the raw canvas. You just assume the picture in your head is an objective reality, totally unaware that your brain just fabricated half the details on the fly.
Let's put this into perspective. Imagine you're booking a vacation 6 months out. Your brain instantly pictures this gorgeous, sunlit beach with a nice cold drink in your hand. It feels so vivid and real, right? But your imagination completely leaves out the tedious, awful details. It forgets the massive security lines at the airport, the delayed flights, the horribly uncomfortable hotel mattress, the bug bites, the whole shebang. Because our mental simulations create this highly idealized, heavily edited summary and toss out the negative reality, we constantly overestimate how much pure joy future events will actually bring us.
Now, this brings us to a really sneaky cognitive bias known as presentism. When your brain tries to imagine the future, it anchors heavily on exactly how you are feeling right now. Because the brain desperately needs to fill in those missing details we just talked about, it borrows heavily from your current emotional state, your current surroundings, and your current beliefs. So you are quite literally viewing your distant future through the emotional lens of exactly where you happen to be standing today.
We have all fallen victim to the grocery shopping effect. If you go to the store while you are absolutely starving, your present hunger amplifies everything. Your brain simply cannot separate your current state from your future appetite. So everything looks delicious and you buy way too much food. But this impacts major life decisions too. If you're going through a painful breakup, presentism makes it feel as though that intense emotional pain is literally going to last forever. Your current dark sky convinces your brain that the sun is never going to rise again.
Think back to the music you blasted or the clothes you wore 10 years ago. They probably feel completely foreign, maybe even a little cringeworthy to you now. We all recognize that we've changed in the past, yet we suffer from this wild phenomenon called the end of history illusion. We look at our current selves today and think, yep, I'm finally done growing. This is it, my final form. And because we naively assume our current tastes and preferences are permanent, we lock our future selves into terrible commitments like super rigid career paths or highly specific tattoos that we often end up deeply regretting.
Moving to Section 1, your psychological immune system, the invisible defender. Let's see how this incredible defense system quietly protects your brain from despair and crippling regret after major setbacks.
So, if human imagination is so terrible at predicting the future, why aren't we all just perpetually miserable? Well, the answer lies quietly working behind the scenes. Just like your body fights off a nasty virus, your mind has an active defense mechanism designed to protect you from emotional devastation. We fear failures and rejections far more than we actually should, because we completely forget that our psychological immune system is going to immediately step in to cushion the blow. The catch is, this system only works effectively when you don't know what's happening. Because it operates invisibly, your conscious imagination can't factor it in. So you look at a potential failure, you imagine how terrible it will feel, and you suffer from impact bias. You wildly overestimate the distress because you fail to realize how incredibly resilient your mind truly is when push comes to shove.
Now here is a massive twist. We all demand absolute freedom in our lives, right? We want return policies, flexible options, and cancelable commitments. But when a decision is truly irreversible, like buying a house with a non-refundable deposit, your psychological immune system kicks into absolute overdrive to help you love that choice. It finds every conceivable reason to justify the outcome, which leads to deep, lasting satisfaction. On the flip side, when a decision is totally flexible and reversible, your immune system stays completely inactive. It just sits there, leaving you to agonize and dwell on the flaws of what you selected, constantly wondering if you should change your mind.
It is deeply, deeply ironic that we can handle catastrophic life events with surprising courage, yet we completely lose our composure over a slightly delayed train. Why does this happen? It's because the psychological immune system has a severity threshold. If you experience a massive crisis, like losing a job, your brain recognizes the emergency and deploys powerful rationalizations to defend your sanity. You adapt and you find resilience. But a minor annoyance, the pain is just too small to trigger the alarm. It bypasses your mental shields entirely, leaving you absolutely miserable over a pair of misplaced keys.
And it gets worse. Just as our imagination is flawed, our memory is deeply unreliable. When we try to predict the future, we naturally look to our past experiences. But your memory doesn't store every single minute of your life like a computer hard drive. It relies on a shortcut called the peak-end rule. Your brain really only remembers the absolute peak moment of intensity and the final ending. A mediocre, rainy vacation that ends with one amazing, picturesque sunset is remembered as a wonderful trip. But a flawless 2-week trip that ends with you losing your passport on the very last day, that goes down in your memory banks as a total, unmitigated disaster.
So how does this all play out with money? Well, escaping poverty provides a massive, highly measurable boost in your well-being. But moving from the middle class to the ultra-wealthy, the emotional returns completely flatline. We humans quickly adapt to our new levels of comfort, a psychological phenomenon called hedonic adaptation. You buy a faster, fancier car, you get a brief spike of excitement, and within weeks, it's just your normal baseline again. We keep chasing endless wealth because our society relies on this belief for economic productivity, not because it actually does anything for your personal emotional well-being. And here is a genuinely shocking truth. When researchers look at daily logs, taking care of young children actually ranks among the lowest moments of positive daily emotion, sitting right there alongside commuting in traffic and doing household chores. Yet if you ask parents, they will absolutely swear that their children are their ultimate source of daily joy. Why the massive disconnect? It's the peak-end rule in action. Parents remember the magical peak moments, the warm hugs, the first steps, and their psychological immune system actively reframes those thousands of hours of routine exhaustion into a beautifully joyful success story.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Surrogate Solution, a counterintuitive hack. So how do we actually predict what will make us happy? Daniel Gilbert offers a scientifically proven method that almost everyone stubbornly rejects.
We know our imagination is flawed, our memory is selective, and cultural beliefs constantly mislead us. So what's the actual answer? It requires abandoning our own internal simulator entirely and looking outward. Step 1, stop imagining the future scenario yourself. Step 2, find someone who is currently living that exact experience right now. And Step 3, just ask them how they feel today. Instead of relying on your deeply flawed mental simulator to guess if you'll like a new city or a career change, simply observe the real, day-to-day well-being of someone who is already there. Their current reality is the infinitely better predictor of your future happiness than your own imagination could ever be.
But here is the kicker. Almost no one actually uses this surrogate method. Why? Because of the illusion of uniqueness. We desperately resist using surrogates because our ego tricks us into believing that we are uniquely special. We look at the average person in that high-stress job and think, well, yeah, they are miserable, but I'm different. My resilience is way higher. My tastes are more refined. But the hard truth is, while our hobbies and favorite movies might differ, our fundamental emotional machinery is incredibly similar. If a choice makes 90% of people miserable, there is an overwhelming probability it's going to make you miserable too.
By letting go of this desperate need for certainty and stepping off the endless treadmill of consumerism, we can finally stop trusting those deceptive little pictures our brains paint for us and start building a genuinely fulfilling life. We don't just stumble upon happiness by sheer luck, and we certainly don't find it by trusting the highly edited thumbnail sketches our frontal lobe creates. We have to embrace irreversible decisions, realize our psychological immune system is going to catch us when we fall, and actually observe the real lived experiences of those around us. The big question is, will you surrender your illusion of uniqueness to finally make choices that bring you lasting joy? Keep that in mind the absolute next time you are trying to predict your own happiness. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.